He, it's wild. The amount of justice, I guess it was like this dormant
what's wrong with the
hopium
justice?
for the justice. No, it's just I mean, let's not think back. I'm really glad that we've shown we can cast off recency bias, sort of. But, I mean, it's a pretty crazy pick to have 3 out of 4 of our desk anyway. But let's talk about the first match of the day here, because Super, in the selection show last night, he's like, yeah, you already know we're going to pick the Toronto Defiant. Obviously, the Shock have never lost this particular matchup.
Yep.
Toronto, maybe, look, loose lips sink ships, Mr. Hisu. He sort of, implies that they want to play this dive composition a fair bit here. So I feel like the Shock have plenty of options against that kind of approach if that were to come to pass.
My favorite when Izzy tried to like back out of it, and he was like, well, we're still good at the other comps, right? We just want to play this only, but we still can play that other stuff really well. But I mean, he's not lying, right? I mean, that's what they're great at, Toronto. That, they're great when they're able to play the dive, play aggressive.
Sure.
We can take a look at the Toronto Defiant starting lineup. They don't excel in that bunker slower play style. So we'll see Hisu Nice in the starting lineup today in terms of DPS. Really kind of the only change we see with Toronto at this point, with maybe Aspire coming in, as he's been a great pickup this season.
This is consistent with the idea that the Defiant do want to play a fair bit of dive. We know Aspire can play Tracer and a ton of hit scan here, but Nice is really the kind of player who, since the beginning of this season, regardless of what hero it's been on, right, a lot of the times it was on the Echo, for example, he loves to flank. He loves to try and, go for solo kills from these off angles here and allow his front line just to try and attract as much attention from the enemy team as possible. Now, if you have a player like Glastro, who's extremely aggressive and high impact and flashy, then you can do that. And that contrasts with Michelle being one of the most defensively oriented divas. The only diva, in fact, that's more defensive in the league is Tuyu. Both of these players have an extremely high amount of ultimates negated. They're 1 and 2 respectively. And Michelle really spends a lot of his time peeling, protecting that backline, kind of allowing Lastro to do his thing there. But in an Echo meta, or in an Echo composition, it's more likely to see Ansun J off and flying with Nice, and that will change the dynamic a little bit here. Hisu's Hangzhou, though, Matt, that's definitely a bright spot for this team, and the desk kind of teased that out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this Toronto team, although they may not kind of have like that star power and like overpower teams, they can definitely catch you off guard. And we'll take a look at the Shock lineup. If the Shock don't come out and kind of click on all cylinders today, they could definitely be closer than I think people expect. The Shock will come out with Glister and Nero in terms of the damage dealers in the starting lineup. FD God and Super in. So that tells you Lucio, that tells you Reinhardt. That kind of gives you probably a little bit of an inkling of what they're going to try and do here. Maybe, Glister on the Cowboy, Nero on the May, and try and play some of the Reinhardt rush type compositions.
Now, FD God has been resting up a little bit, Matt, in recent times here, as the San Francisco Shock have been courting this double flex support approach here with, Baptiste and Ana Zen in the mix. And we've even been seeing Violet, go over towards, some of these picks that normally would be played by FD God. So he comes back in now after a little bit of a break, and you have to think that he's been getting developed and honed into more of a weapon than he already was on this team. Very aggressive backline. Probably the most aggressive backline in the world, Matt, between Violet and FD God.
Yeah, you saw the stats, although it's just on the Zen that Johnny had with Violet. He takes a lot of risks, and it kind of worked with Moth, right? Because Moth is a much more like passive type of like Lucio player. FD God is very aggressive as well. So sometimes you can get a little bit punished with 2 players being that aggressive. The first map in the series will be Oasis. So Oasis does have some good points for that, Reinhardt May combination. We'll see if that's what the Shock bring out.
Plenty of room in the trophy cabinet for the San Francisco Shock, map. If they want to live up to their former glory, it needs to be a victory in this match to get them into playoffs. And then, well, you know the drill for the rest of the story. For the Defiant, they've been a team that's constantly sat on the cusp, Matthew, mid-table. They look dangerous, actually, in the main melee this year. A metagame that actually featured many of the heroes we expect to see today. They showed their strengths, but they want to play dive right now. A little bit of a different story for them. And we'll see if San Francisco has the antidote to that, if they can slow down the pace of the game, or if they will join the Defiant in this churning massive dive with plenty of that Tracer play. This is definitely the Defiant's best chance at a map win here, one of their better ones. We know that San Francisco, kind of suck on control. It's just what they do. They lose the first map in many of their series. This is where the Defiant want to get out to a head start.
And the Shock are hovering the composition that I laid out when we saw this roster, get unveiled with the starting lineup. This makes total sense with what the Shock are playing in terms of players. So it looks like we'll see them actually run with this. What do Toronto decide to do? They're going to try and play, so they're going to try and play the Echo Tracer with the ball, and they're also going to have the Brig with the Zen backline. So that's going to be pretty hard for Nice, right? Only has that Harmony Orb, doesn't have like a Mercy Pocket up in the sky here going up against a Cowboy.
I mean, that's brutal. Yeah, I think the Cowboy in the mix there really kind of throws that one into question. Okay, Sato, yes, gets a knock-on kill on Violet. What a huge opening there to get rid of the Batiste. And instantly the Shock group up, and they're going to try and get to a position where they can disengage quickly with the Lucio.
Well, I mean, Super steps on the point, right? But there's nothing he can really do once they lose that Immortality Field and just the raw healing power of the Batiste. So really big kill there at the beginning from Sato. And just that one kill turns the tide. There is no fight. Just the one kill that gives Toronto the point first.
The Shock back with 6 players now. This time it's Lastro that takes a licking across the map. We'll need to keep his head down for the time being. A Nice playing pretty tight angles here. He's respecting Glister's presence here, but making sure he can still be part of these fights. Glister, though, it's a nice little flash and one tap to get rid of Hisu, and now it's the Defiant's turn to do a bit of a step back, a bit of a disengage here as the Shock pursue.
And they're so low on healing resources, right? With the Brig and the Zen. Because, with the Brig, you're going to have to be in a close quarter scenario to get any type of healing, and that's the fight that the Shock wants. The Shock wants the Brig to come into the Reinhardt, the May, Batiste putting down damage. It doesn't play well here for Toronto.
Oh, FD God. Flies a little bit too close to the sun there, and Hisu lined him up.
Here, yeah,
it's going to be a flip back here. The Shock baited the Defiant into an amplification matrix setup, allowed them to rotate back to the point here, but it's been a little bit sloppy in the last few moments. Now San Francisco will look to stall if they possibly can. See Choi doing just that, but their Discord Orb's going to make it a short-lived 4-8. The Defiant should have this one back in a sec. It's really just a stretched-out fight where you build some ultimates. The Defiant have 5.
And this is what people liked about the Twilight backline with Violet, is you didn't really have those moments. Or right there, it looks like a fight win, and they're just chasing and being so aggressive. You lose FD God, you lose Violet as you get back to the point. In what should have looked like one where Toronto was forced to back out, and the Shock ended up winning it. The Shock ended up losing that fight.
Violet dead again, dead taxes, and that. Transcendence now thrown in by Lastro as all the Defiant try and increase their holdings here. But Super's taken down by Ansunjae, goes for the shatter and it worked out, but he's hit with a shield bash instantly, and the Defiant are happy playing this style map. They mentioned they like playing that dive. Wrecking Ball with the Tracer is looking real good for them now, while San Francisco are the ones that have to come up with an answer. Okay.
Yeah, that happens at a very odd time, but the dive pretty aggressive against a team that has 2 supports who die frequently and play quite aggressive. So at least so far, working out well for the Defiant. Self-destruct to open things up.
Super backtracking a little bit there. Violet's Immortality Field, the only casualty of the bomb. Shock aren't quite yet comfortable enough to push out onto the point, but the Amplification Matrix is going to remediate that somewhat. Pulse Bomb from Hisu on the Super, but there's a Batiste in play, and he's going to be kept healed up. Super finds the Fire Strike kill there with the M Matrix onto Lastro, and that was the pick that San Francisco were definitely looking for.
Yes, Toronto, they do get it to 99, but they're going to drop the point here. So the Shock flip it. No support ults for San Francisco. They'll have a self-destruct in this next fight and a Deadeye. And what are you going to be working with here for Toronto? So Minefield for Toronto, and then probably a duplicate off with some damage. So maybe you can kind of get that Minefield up on the high ground, force some low. We'll see where Sato tries to position. He's also had the ability to get those knockoffs on the top, right? So don't want to rule that out.
Hisu's hunting. Sato might link up with them here. Choi, though, is... Okay, keeping tabs on that position. Minefield there is deployed. Deadeye from Glister in the back line here. The Shock have control of the point. Glister wants to forge ahead, though, and try and line someone up here. The Shock were definitely looking for an early kill, but didn't want to extend too far in order to get it. Nice is going to be duplicating a Diva here on the Amplification Matrix. Takes him down to about half of that health. He wants to get in with a self-destruct here, but it's not a safe opportunity to do so until now. He dives on in. Choi has a self-destruct of his own, and that's the shatter. It's going to set up the bomb. Hisu can't pick himself back up in time, and it's going to be Choi taking him down with the bomb after the shatter. 98% now for the shock, and we're down to the final fight. It's a rally from Ansunjae.
Oh, it's going to be a sound barrier, though, here from FD God as they get really aggressive behind the sound barrier. The speed boost, they push on through. This should be the shock securing this round. It looks like just Hisu and Ansunjae here for Toronto as the shock, they battle back in the end.
A nice little recovery there from San Francisco. Matt, they don't really play on the point. Even after they capture it, well, they take Super, they back up with him into that sort of hallway and try and stay as safe as possible. It looked really hard for Hisu to pick any of those targets up. You saw him waiting in the wings for an opportunity that just didn't come.
Well, I think Sato gets like stunned when he's going to use the minefield there, because if he gets a little bit higher, the minefield will spread out. It'll cover some of the doorway on the top, doorway on the bottom, and then also the window. The thing is that it didn't cover the window with how high he got. So the Shock were able to play in that window, contest the point, stay there, which puts Toronto in a position they don't want to be in, where they have to go deep into the Reinhardt, into the May. They were not able to break that setup.
A real clash of styles here, Matthew. These two teams playing polar opposite compositions, especially opposite backlines. TP now sends San Francisco to the high ground. They might want to secure that first. Make it so Nice cannot flank around with any ease. Point will be open in about 10 seconds here, and San Francisco have definitely staked their claim to this high ground.
Yeah, getting the high ground control, preventing the Tracer from kind of going up here, getting any like flanking angles kind of coming down from the side. You also have the TP to get down to the point rather quickly, so you can close that gap, which they do.
Glister, okay, gets knocked into the backline. That's actually where he wanted to be at that point. He's well charged up. Got rid of Lastro easily enough. That's a recall from Hisu already, who's looking for something, any opportunity here to limit the Shock's numbers. Comes home with absolutely nothing.
And how do you even keep Lastro alive against this, right? The defense matrix obviously is going to do nothing against the Symmetra beam from Glister once he gets in, and he's so charged up. And there's no speed boost, right? No, not able to get Lastro out of the way. The teleporter just comes right down on top of him, and they just run him down.
And Lastro is so central to the Defiant's game plan here, Matthew.
He's huge.
Getting a Discord orb on Super or ChoiHyoBin, that's so crucial for a less mobile front line. Needs to stay alive in order to do that, though.
Even not on the Zen, like Lastro is like almost the star player for this Toronto team. Being able to just kind of negate any effect he has gives the Shock a huge chance of winning this.
All right, Discord on Glister there as well. This is getting dangerous. A Pulse Bomb could be just the ticket here. Hisu, though, doesn't go for it. Recalls his way out here. The Defiant realizing they might have a chance of capturing the point, but you have to wonder if Hisu let a big opportunity go begging just now. Transcendence there is from Lastro. Sato not really benefiting from it where he is. He minefields out that right side room, but it's going to be a sound barrier for the San Francisco Shock, and they're down to brawl. It's MTD versus SBD, and the former prevails in this fight.
And this is the type of game that Toronto, admittedly, as Choi taking some damage here, going to let Violet build up towards another Amp Matrix. This is the type of game that Toronto does not want to play. You know, Hisu kind of alluded to it the other day, where he said they really like enjoy playing the dive. This is where they're at their best. They don't want to match the Shock in this, so they're going to have to figure out a way to either beat it with this dive or just concede and try and beat them in the mirror. But you don't favor them in the mirror. They got to come up with something.
Pulse Bomb from Hisu. Nice little jump back there. Sato was caught, but Super didn't want to charge. It would put him too far away from the teammates he needs to protect. Viner had the immortality field for the self-destruct there, and Choi's going to hide behind his mech. He can't get back in, though. Lastro cleans him up with a salvo of orbs across the map, and the Defiant finally get back in here. And that's a good Pulse Bomb. A lot of damage, even if no kills there from Hisu, going to make it an easy cleanup here.
Yeah, and it's getting the kill on a Choi. Choi with a really odd, like, self-destruct. It ends up in that corner, probably just to deter people from moving on to the point, but it makes him a very easy target, as he's basically just trying to hide, use his own mech for cover, and as soon as Lastro takes him out, you lose a lot of the defensive capabilities with the defense matrix, and things fall apart. And now for Toronto, you have an ultimate advantage, so let's see if they can turn this into a really good percentage. I mean, they almost have to run it all the way up.
Nero, the ever-dependable here, as a blizzard on the May, but getting rid of Ansunjae already is huge. They use the teleport to get in position on the high ground. San Francisco get to start the fight on their own terms. Nice Duplicating the DV here, unsure where to put that defense matrix right now, but there's a good amount of pressure on Glister, who isn't on the Tracer here. Super leaps forward with the Shatter, will catch Michelle for the time being, but they've already lost Nero. An amplification matrix now from Violet. It's time to go up a gear, but can he stay alive? Again, throwing himself into the midst to try and keep his teammates vital. The sound barrier comes at the perfect time from FD God. Nice is in trouble. It's hunting season for Violet. He brings the Echo down now, and the Shock stand tall on the point. A player advantage, and they're about to get Choi back to full health, Matt. It's overtime, and the Defiance opportunities are running out.
Yeah, they just got to get on one by one. It was Hisu to send it in overtime. Sato jumps in now. They're going to have a rally, though, so maybe they can turn this.
Violet playing safe. Super hit with the Discord Orb there, so wants to try and get rid of that for now. That's been applied to Glister. Here's a TP into the backline. It's actually only Glister the web. They're trying to pressure. Nice down. Self-destruct doesn't catch anyone, but Glister falls to the sticky bombs. He tried to go for the assassination plan. It doesn't pay off. The Shock here want to end the round, and they get rid of Nice. That's huge. He flies a little bit too low to the ground, and Nero's able to pick him up, and Violet stays safe. Choi has a mech refresh option here, and he's going to take it. Dealing with Hisu in the meantime now, will be able to climb back in, but Violet's already gone down, and perhaps the Shock are better served going again.
And the rally is huge. The rally turns that fight where Sunjae does not have that rally and come in. It pretty much forces the Shock off of the point. They don't want to brawl against the Brig with the rally. I mean, that is one where the Shock can walk right back up onto the point and fight this. Is Glister will have his wall, and then you also have Super with a Earth Shatter. You know, Transcendence could be big here for last show. He's going to be able to play on the high ground and just avoid this altogether.
Shock aren't out of the woods yet. They need a retake, and it needs to be clean. Good damage here on the backline from the Defiant. They've got the Transcendence to work with. Keep an eye on Lastro here.
He got forced out.
He has to use it now. Not bad timing though, but Violet's going to have an amplification matrix, and Sato's been taken down. Super now going to shelter onto the Immortality Field here and make sure that Ansunjae and Lastro can't fight damage. Oh no, he's walked into the Shatter around the corner. Ansunjae hit with the Shockwave, and he's dropped on his rear end. Michelle gets removed after that by Super, and it's Nice now to try and dip a toe in the tepid waters of the point, such as the odds are for the Defiant. Super's gone down though, decent start. The minefield doesn't do a whole lot for Sato there though. It's spread over a pretty small area, and San Francisco are happy to play from the edges. And the Defiant walk off the point with a minefield and all. They cannot keep the round going, and that's a map one to San Francisco, and an ill omen to see the Shock win the control map here.
Yeah, and you know, Lastro at the end, he was positioned up on the high ground, and the teleporter comes in front, and the players on the Shock, some of them didn't take it, and then I believe Super took it and dropped down, and Lastro actually dropped down to try and get some help from the rest of his team, but puts him in a position where he's right next to the Reinhardt. Super swings on him once. He ends up popping the Transcendence. They don't have that when big damage is coming down to the rest of the squad.
All right, we've talked about it at length already, but there's two very different styles at play here. The question that remains to be answered is that whether we'll see that again from San Francisco in our second map in the series. If we see this clash of paradigms, stick around everybody. It's going to be a fascinating series, and San Francisco are looking strong early.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
one way to earn in-game.
Surprising me, no more such.
Woohoo, my friends, welcome.
It's the Smurf Show.
Smurf is putting on a little bit of a show right now for us.
Smurf is having the time of his life.
Smurf, oh, beautiful. He has primal. Oh, this is so wrong. Monkey magic in the stairwell, and they're just getting embarrassed by this man. Oh, fire!
Oh, not like this, ZP.
Easy win, guys. I'll try my best.
Shut up.
I was wondering why Jexa didn't pop his sound barrier, but the reason was he got Primal Rage. That is ridiculous! That is actually ridiculous!
More like Gargamel, this guy's hunting him down. He's actually smurfing in this game.
He is so good. He needed to make some huge plays. They needed something to happen, and he's done it there and then. A player of the match is going to be going to Smurf for this one here.
Why are these Overwatch people showing Smurf B-roll? Well, of course, he's subbed in here for map number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, this is a knockout match for both of these teams. Only one can advance to our playoffs here for 2021. And San Francisco off to a good start. So Smurf gets subbed in here for Super.
Yes.
This is, I mean, God, I mean, as close to wholesale changes as you're going to get from any team in the league, Matthew. Big subs.
Yeah, and I think it kind of coincides with the map that we have coming up next. It'll be Volskaya Industries. So Ants comes in, can still play, you know, whether it's the Cowboy, you can play the Tracer, you can play, you know, Ash if you wanted to play the long-range hit scan. And then maybe you don't value the Lucio as much here. Maybe you want to play Smurf on the ball or the Winston and, you know, play an Ana type composition with Twilight in. That kind of tells you what we would see here, potentially Violet on the Zen. So I think this is really just a map-dependent swap, which this makes sense from Toronto's perspective to pick this because this is a map that is more dive, fast-pace oriented rather than trying to play something that's a little bit more, you know, rush bunkery.
So what would we get out of the DPS here? We know that Arns obviously plays plenty of hit scan and a bit of Hangzhou, dabbles also with the Sombra a little bit. Nero is a top Echo player in general. He's top 3, top 4 in most of the key categories here. He's got like, I think 12,000 damage per 10 on Echo, which is, again, that's really high over a whole season of play. So very dependable, very potent weapon to have in the DPS line. If that's what they
play Echo Tracer. You know, you can play something with the Ash, which maybe you play the Ash on defense. They'll actually play Soldier potentially, which is an interesting shout. Soldier does get a buff during this patch that we're currently playing on. I believe
we could say overall it's a buff, right?
His
damage, he gets 1 extra damage per bullet, so it goes from 19 to 20 on the heavy pulse rifle. His biotic field healing does get reduced by like by a pretty healtty amount, to be honest with you.
Ain't nobody picking him for the biotic field.
It's well, it's a 12% decrease though in healing per second, so it's not a small amount. Again though, 1 damage per bullet is huge when he's just spewing them at you, so keep an eye on what the legs can do here.
And Tactical Visor is not affected by the fall-off damage. That's
Correct.
the other one. So on a map like Volskaya at range, that is pretty strong. So
yeah, it's
Violet will play Violet will play the Brig here to kind of protect Twilight. And yeah, Soldier just you know, compared to Ash or Cowboy, he's just way easier to kind of operate on his own, kind of play over on an island, and that is they are targeting Lastro.
Absolutely.
And it is not. It is really just because of the hero that Lastro is playing and the style of play that Toronto wants to do. You know, they cannot get in and set up these dives if they can't get the Zen in place to even get through a choke or land a Discord. And there's no really, like, what, you have Michelle and then Nasunjay who can come back and like peel, but really that's it.
I mean, that can't peel quickly enough for that, to be honest with you. Defense Matrix is too busy trying to eat up this Arns damage. So when it comes time to peel, sometimes Michelle is, all he can do is block them with his bulk, as it were. Arns play from the high ground here. He'll attract some attention from the Discord orb, but there it is. Lastro falls once more, and Shock have figured out the way to get to the soft, juicy inside of the Defiant.
Well, it takes Toronto with these compositions, right? Like they don't have like burst healing Toronto. They're not playing. They're really kind of all in on these like dives with the, the ball, the tracer, the echo, putting down big damage and big damage fast. As Twilight, this is so cheeky.
You can't be serious.
This is a play-in game, by the way.
That is the role play room. That's like people don't actually play competitive Overwatch. Yeah, like they just pretend they're like a family, serving up breakfast in the house.
Is that how you prepared? Is that how you prepared for your family?
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn how to take a plate from one end of the room to the other, and wipe down a bench
Overwatch RP prepared you for life.
I got all the tips, bro. You have no idea. I've seen the game browser, and I live to tell the tale. Nice though, down to that tac visor, Matt. Like you mentioned, no fall off there with that hit scan damage with that ability. So, Nice can't dump altitude quickly enough to get out of the way, and he just pops.
They do get the kill here on the Aunts, so can they capitalize on this? Oh, Sunjae gets hit with a pulse bomb. Nice stick there from Miro. He was getting close to rally. That would have been big. You could potentially now nano Smurf, send him to the high ground.
All right, Mine's deployed here. Okay, he's able to get rid of Twilight, who might be considered a centerpiece on the Shock in his own right now. Rally here. Unfortunately, maybe not quite enough damage there from Violet, to keep him alive under that kind of scrutiny. And Answer's, well, he's done.
I mean, this does not look good for the Shock now. You lost Twilight when he had the nano, where maybe if you nanoed Smurf and then he got Primal, there's enough time to get Aunts and everybody back at full strength and back in the fight. But the kill onto Twilight was huge, so the Defiant finally able to crack this. And Lastro ends up holding on to the Transcendence. He was actually getting pressured out by Choi, who is not in a mech. Choi just basically kind of gave his life to go at Lastro. And he got very low, but does not pop the Transcendence.
If you've seen Code Geass, it's not the mechs that are important to people inside of him, mate. Lastro blown up again. It looked like another body grenade to set that one up, but Lastro hasn't had a good chance to use that Transcendence, man. He saved it, to be fair, on point A. And almost got it forced out, I thought, with the pulse bomb on towards Ansunjae, but this one is ugly.
That was supposed to be a big push, though, for Toronto. I mean, they opened that up with a rally, trying to push in with that. So Michelle just trying to die as fast as possible. But they end up using the rally on the way in to try and get aggressive behind that, right? You think rally, then Transcendence. They don't have a great suite of ultimates on the other side at that moment. So what in the world are these two doing? I mean, this is casters to masters-esque right here. I mean, what is going on
You wanted to do this in casters to masters. You literally did this, and we fed. This was your idea. Oh, man. Okay, anyway, so the Defiant getting, they drop down.
It works.
To make it look a little bit better than we did. Yeah, I mean, for them. All right, Sato down to half HP. Play the high ground, though, and again, adaptive shielding's much better now in this current iteration of the game. And the Defiant have control of the point here for now. There's a Primal lead from Smurf. He's very efficient with those. And here's that Transcendence they've been waiting on. Primal and Nano Boost here for Smurf. He's looking for damage, Matt. And a lot of it...
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to get both supports out of this as Lastro. No way he's going to live through that. So even after all the good things that Toronto did, looks like they got a little bit short of that permanent progress. Yeah, so they're not going to even get that tick, which is pretty tough there. He's going to make it back. It's going to give Twilight a ton of ability to start farming up that nano again.
Hello. That's across the map. A kill on Hisu. You'd be furious. Helix Rocket, man, it hits hard. We forget. That stuff's nasty.
I actually, coming into the play-ins, in the playoffs in general, I actually thought we were going to see a decent amount of Soldier 76 play. You've been playing on the ladder. He feels really strong, especially like at ranges he didn't once before, but not seen a large chunk of it this far. Oh,
Nero for 2. I mean, yeah, he jumps in and gets rid of Lastro as well. Cute from Troy, tried to knock that one off the edge, but here's that tactical visor from Arns. What does he go for with this? Oh, nice, gets caught by that one. Arns trades that one. Sato, nice positioning there, going for the Soldier. Again, just inting at the tactical visoring Soldier. We've seen that from a few tanks. And it's the way to deal with them. Stan 1 did a fantastic job of shutting down Soldier on Havana not a couple of weeks ago. San Francisco still hold point here. It is 53 seconds in the round.
And the things that we talked a little bit about the 76 in the mix is, so mobile, right? Can use the sprint to get from high ground to high ground, different spots, right? If you want to really kind of boost yourself up with the helix jumps and getting odd spots, but the ability to just be self-reliant. He's not exactly a dive target. I think when the Fuel played him, we almost kind of talked. He plays a little bit like Tracer-like. You can play with the 76.
Sato got bonked there. I had no idea where that came from. This is great positioning again, causing so many problems for Arns. He cannot play where he wants to. Arns has to try and just dash away. And he does, but he's not in position to really impact the fight. Smurf needs Primal. He needs it badly. Bit of healing goes a long way for this Winston here. And Violet couldn't shed the bomb. Smurf does have Primal though. Another time buy for sure, and they get rid of Michelle out of the mech. That slightly weaker biotic field there, still helping to keep Twilight alive, and it's Primal time for Smurf. He gets two, and that's exactly what he could ask for. Both supports unreal, down, man. And he gets another. Sato is removed, and that's why you sub this man in. The Smurf show is real.
He gets Michelle at the choke. Well, first he gets the Nano. With the Nano, he's able to force out the Transcendence. Gets back to his team with, he basically has no HP at the time. Gets healed up, gets Primal, then jumps in, kills Michelle with the Primal, so the D.Va's out of the way as Michelle is getting his mech back. Then kind of doubles back from the choke to the Mega Health Pack and kills both supports, and then gets back across the point, gets another kill at the end. I mean, just unreal Winston play there from Smurf. And just really nice strat there by the Shock, right? Bringing in the 76, where Ons comes in, you think maybe he's going to play the Tracer, maybe Nero plays like an Echo, and maybe there's an Ashe in the mix, but no, they get the Winston composition with the 76 and the Tracer. Just a lot of pressure for the opponent.
And you see just how seriously Sato takes the threat of Arns. In fairness, if Sato goes up 2... Okay, let's just watch this first.
Yeah, here's this whole sequence I was talking about. So this is the kill at the choke, right as he's getting back in the mech. The Primal... He's going to end up both supports out of this, and then traverses the point. Yeah,
and the ball can't do anything either.
It's crazy.
Unreal.
Then he gets back to the point, and I believe he may have taken out Hisu there at the end. I mean,
he ruined the day of 4 players with that one ultimate there. Primal, Rage, Efficiency. Smurf is all about it. Nicely done. The only player with a better Primal rate, actually no, I think Mag is first in the league right now with 1 kill per Primal, but that's a few more than 1 from Smurf just there. Very nice.
So they end up playing Hisu now on Sombra. They have this is interesting. They ditch the D.Va, and they'll play Ball Sigma to try and maybe protect Lastro a little bit more here. That's kind of where Michelle is playing, just around Lastro. Just shows you how big they need Lastro to just stay alive and put down damage, right? You play a Sigma and the Brig right next to him.
I'd love to know the usage time for Sigma for Michelle this year so far. It never really seemed to be where he preferred to be, but in fairness, plays into his wheelhouse as a more defensive player, I guess, just on virtue of that shield thing there. Arns drops the field. How do you unseat this, man? How do you get rid of him with just a Wrecking Ball from here?
I mean, well, I was going to say, you don't have any type of defense matrix now for Sato, and it makes his job a little bit tougher, and he ends up dropping at the hands of Nero. But the thing with the Sigma is Sigma can kind of stand on the point and hold serve, right?
Nero? Okay, hacked. Oh, man. Choi is everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere right now. You saw him go up for a visit to Arns just before, and that would have been the end of Nero. He was nanoed, yes, but the defense matrix and then the body block of the mech from Choi. So impressive. Lastro's not getting out of this one alive. Again, the focus fire onto the Zen pays off, and this will be a San Francisco point 8.
And you have Ansa on the high ground, just putting down so much consistent damage on the 76. Does it have the killing power and potential at long range of like a Widowmaker or an Ashe, like one-shots and stuff? No, but just the consistent damage and the pressure on the shields, forcing Michelle back into the room with the Mega Health Pack, just working down the Brig shield again, like... not a lot you can do, especially when you don't have anybody that can get to the high ground, challenge the Soldier.
Better start to this fight at least. EMP for 3 and on the back line, most importantly. Sato found 2 kills. Sato's really grown into quite the Wrecking Ball aficionado, Matthew. I mean, he really is, taken that in his stride this year as many teams struggle to find a way to integrate the Wrecking Ball in their comps. It's pretty good.
See you later.
And it's, I think, a little bit surprising that they don't, Toronto, have a look kind of like the Shans, because Sato's, one of his best heroes, probably his best, has always been traditionally his Winston play, right? Where you think with him on the Winston and you can play, whether it's, Hisu on a hit scan, they could be pretty strong as well.
Lastro looking for a chance to make this Transcendence really count. Ansu with the rally first, though. Slap and Sato, silly! He's down! Still the Defiant are able to find their way into the backline and deal with Arns, but things are looking a little dicey now. This Pulse Bomb from Nero won't be needed to get rid of Ansun J. Michel trying to get out with his life intact, and the Transcendence really is just being used to keep the Defiant's head above water with the levels rising quickly. Somebody get Lassie! Get this Timmy out of the well! San Francisco are washing over the Defiant now onto this point. Sato removed once more, and that is that. 2 maps on the front for a dominant San Francisco Shock, eyeing off a playoffs berth, and they're hungry.
And the Shock just displaying, one, how good they are at multiple different looks, but 2, how important it is to have different looks. Where Toronto, we've seen from them thus far that they really just want to play these Wrecking Ball-based compositions. You need to be able to play many different things with how the Overwatch League has been this season and how map-dependent the compositions have been, regardless of patch. To put yourself in a position, it's one of the criticisms of the Outlaws, to only be able to kind of focus on one thing and play that. It just has not been something that has resulted in a winning formula at the top level. So I think Toronto's going to have to come up with something else in this next map.
Yeah, the Defiant have to try and hang on here against one of the scariest teams when it comes to playoff time. The Shock are ready to rumble, and they're already rocking and socking. Stick around, everybody, because Map 3 represents the last opportunity for the Defiant to stay alive. Stay tuned.
오 나이스.
나이스 팀.
뭔가
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
The postseason matches are starting to heat up. Can you guess a perfect playoffs and grand finals bracket for a chance to win $100,000? Head to pick'em.overwatchleague.com/playoff starting September the 6th to learn more and submit your entry. That's tomorrow, by the way. Let's see what you guys can do there. And again, here's our top 3 finishes so far. Nicely done, everybody. Again, perfect bracket, big money on the line. Speaking of which, there is a lot at stake right now. The Toronto Defiant are laying off their potential last map of the season.
Yeah, it has not looked good for Toronto thus far. It's clear what they want to do, what they want to try and play. Obviously enabling Lashra on the Zen to do tons of damage, and I know follow that up with Discords with some pressure. It has not worked. Right now we move over to Numbani, which will be the next map, so some substitutions come with that. Super comes back in, Glisterian as well, and then FD God comes back through. Why? Well, you can play some Reinhardt here on Numbani. This also forces some interesting things from Toronto's side, because when you lead that same team in, you fully expect to see, whether it's Smurf in, right? Play the Winston, maybe plays like a Ursa or Ball, right? Super can play the Winston as well. We've seen him play Orisa this season a decent amount, and then also the Reinhardt. So it gives Toronto a little bit of a question mark in terms of what look they're going to see, which makes it difficult to game plan on the defensive side of things.
And Toronto again already being kept on their toes from map 1. So even that first look that they got served up by San Francisco. So you're right. I mean, this is something that not a lot of teams can reliably do right now. Produce such different looking rosters at the drop of a hat. I mean, that just adds to the mounting pressure for Toronto. I think now, that puts them in a position where it's like, well, we really just have to play our own game. I mean, trying to outgame the different lineups that San Francisco are able to throw at us here is just going to be way too taxing in such an important game. They can double down on their style, right? What has worked for them so far? Like the Echo, the Tracer plays look pretty darn good. Look, I think the Wrecking Ball play from Sato has been really, really solid as well.
I like this change-up, though. I like having Sato here on the Winston. I like moving Lashro from the Zen to the Ana. They just are not able to keep him alive on the Zen. We haven't seen it really at all throughout the series. It hasn't really been extremely impactful. So now a change-up. Try and play a little bit differently here in this final map, which I said on Volskaya. I was like, you would love to see him pull out Sato on the Winston because his Winston is was so top tier, right? What do the Shock decide to do? What the supports are hovering? I fully expect to see Reinhardt play, but maybe they're just going to check here with the Sim and the Ball, and then they'll decide.
TP's out. Nero on the Torbjorn here, Matthew. Now, they really want to make life a little bit harder for Hisu specifically here. Maybe conceding that, there's no way they're going to try and dive on Lastro on this particular map.
No. This is going to be an opportunity for them to try and just punish, whether it's Hisu or Sato. Torb is very good up close. Just a nuisance with a turret to heroes like, even the Echo.
They got this high ground so easily.
Has to deal with the turret, yeah.
Hisu, look, he's in a decent spot. He can make his way in, but he's been waylaid in a big way. And Unsoon Jay's already fallen. Now Nero gets to set up shop here and be the pint-sized predator on point A. And Hisu looks on in dismay, realizing that he is very much on the outside looking in, Matthew.
Yeah, and you're not going to be toe-to-toe without your Brig, and that'll be Sato get taken out before he can get on the point, as Shock just rolling here. As playoff Shock is definitely a different beast, right, than we've seen in the past. Although this team, right, they don't make it to any of the tournaments in Hawaii. This team still had a very good record throughout the season. And think about this, without earning any extra league points going into the Countdown Cup Hawaii tournament, they were in 3rd. They were going to be a team that was going to skip this part of the season. Not have to play in the play-ins. Sato with a Primal Rage going right into an Ant Matrix.
Yeah, going to make it almost impossible for San Francisco to get decent value from that Matrix, but Sato is pressured low, and Nice got caught somehow in the web of ChoiHyoBin. Sato now no Primal, getting just hammered by that Torb turret, no pun intended. Over the top he goes again, and needs to try and do something here with Lastro down and Unsoonjay removed. There is no healing left, and no chance for the Defiant to stick around here.
They're so tanky, man. With the immortality field, that time they had a rally in the mix. Torb, once he pops the overload, right, and gains some of that armor, he becomes really difficult to get down. And this is where Toronto's composition with like a Tracer and not having the Zen hurts, right? Because you need the Disco Orb to be able to burn down some of these big targets. Without it, you're not able to do so, as Hisu will move away from Tracer and now play Hangzhou, which the Hangzhou is definitely a character that is allowing you to, as an early Molten Core, to burn down some of these players.
Nero rolls out the orange carpet here. The Defiant able to skirt around it for the most part, but Michelle is hit by that Shatter Super. Just one of the one target, and he'll take the Diva for now. Still, a lot of fighting to be done here with Nice getting rid of Glister, the Shocker down to 5. And that self-destruct kill gets rid of Nero's turret. Okay, Nice still in a good position to play aggressively around the flanks here. And oh, the charge! Sato not in a great spot to pressure Violet further, but Nice was there to follow up at the very least. Good little maneuver there from Super, but it's not enough to get over the line.
Yes, the Hangzhou damage is a huge addition here. I wonder if this will force a change from the Shock. I wonder if Nero decides to move away from the Torb with the Hangzhou in the mix. So, Choi just getting a mech back. Yeah, so looks like Nero going to stay on the Torb for now, but wouldn't be surprised if we see the move away from this.
Through the dragon's eyes.
Okay, Glister knows now to keep his head down. Hisu on the Hangzhou has run away with games on occasion this year. I mean, you are asking for it, trying to play at that range. And yeah, Hisu punishes Glister. Dragon Strike could make things even worse for San Francisco. They can't get out. Oh man, it's like a tin of sardines that's been thrown into a furnace. Hisu gets 2 with the Dragon Strike.
Tin of sardines thrown into a furnace.
Yeah, you're a sardine in that tin. You're alive for whatever reason, don't ask me. It's like a delicacy, like the sardines are still wriggling or whatever, and then you put in a furnace. So you're probably really expensive because you're still alive. It's like a delicacy in some random country, I'm sure. And then you're in a furnace inside with the other sardines that are also still alive and wriggling. It's not great, man.
No, doesn't sound very good. Shock, this cart's moved back pretty far now. Toronto has started to get some holds here by adding this Hangzhou damage to the mix. Also gets rid of this Torb turret. This will be a Deadeye from the high ground.
Oh, it's
not going to get anything.
Time for a switch.
Yeah,
Shatter from Nice.
Time.
Nice little Reinhardt duplicate here, and it's back to the drawing books here for the Shock.
Oh.
Okay, Nice Shatter Super. Takes this one by the horns and is trying to turn the fight around. Sato down, Nice also missing. So 2 of the biggest weapons, but Hisu's still at large. Still a problem. Still in charge.
The Shatter opens up a lot, though. This is going to be a self-destruct. They're going to get Lastro. That is so big.
FD sets up that kill on Lastro, man. He boops him against that little pillar. Makes it so he can't get out of line of sight of the self-destruct. Fantastic setup to get rid of a high-value target that already lacks mobility. And San Francisco want to try and play forward here, man. They want this checkpoint, and they'll have it.
Okay, so they do switch Glister over to Tracer, but I think this is probably just to get back at the end. Tracer Torb's a little bit of an odd combo, but maybe he'll roll with it for now, as we'll have a Amp Matrix to get around this corner here for the Shock. So Shock in a good position to keep moving this payload.
Glister on the Tracer. Not the first time we've seen him on this pick. Not necessarily uncomfortable by any stretch. Very defensive Molten Core there. Self-destruct. Okay, Nero's turret goes down and Choi gets desuited. Sato might get away with this though. He goes so deep and is able to cross the river of lava back to his team. Lastro's positioning is a little questionable, but he had the self-heal. Yeah, he had his own bionic grenade. That is ballsy to be playing there though, for sure.
Oh, I mean, if he doesn't have a nade, he is dead. Nice on the flank. He'll get rid of Choi, but you're going to lose his damage, and Super's got the Shatter again. Could be setting
Pulse
this
Bomb
up.
could end it. Hisu, Ansun J. Oh, okay. Pulse Bomb deployed. Ansun J could still be in trouble. He needs to back up towards his spawn now, and the Dragon Strike is all the excuse San Francisco need to back away.
Well, it's also the rally, too. They back out when so now you get Choi back, and you've had them use Dragon in rally. So, bad part for San Francisco is you don't really have anything to use. Really, you're waiting on FD God to end up getting this beat.
Nice on in. Violet Sound Barrier is going to keep him alive for now, and Nice will drop a little gift on the front porch. Put it in a bag, light it on fire, whatever. It's going to be Sato to fall down though here, and yet another Molten Core, which is really just the Shock encasing themselves in the warm blanket to prevent the Defiant from getting up in their face, and it's worked once more. Nice playing an off angle, and Hisu couldn't get there. All things considered, Not bad from the Toronto Defiant here. The Hisu Hangzhou definitely puts the brakes on the shock train.
Yeah, the Hangzhou switch was good. They were not really getting anything done. I think they were playing like the Tracer at the beginning, right? Tracer on Hisu into the Torbjorn. Yeah, they Torben Cowboys, so you really weren't getting anything done. I like the change there for Toronto. What do they decide to come out and play on offense? I think it's really determining what we see from San Francisco here in a sec. Once they start to pick some of these heroes, Toronto will be able to come out, spawn, and check, see what's going on. I expect the Shucks probably try and play some. I mean, you could play Reinhardt here first point, but I feel like the Winston's such a better pick. But now they're going to end up playing the Reinhardt, so they're going to play the Reinhardt Torb Cowboy. Very bunkery here at the start.
And I guess if the Defiant do try and, you know, go for Echo or Farah, they'll be dealing with the same issues that they had on that control map, right? Is that it's a little bit risky to play that against Glister, who's just extremely nasty in general. San Francisco, this is definitely a slightly more defensive take on what we saw on Oasis, right? They have the Torb instead. And again, I think it's been said by a few players they prefer to play the Genji into the Torb, so that would be a proportionate response from Toronto to have Nice come out on the Cyber Ninja, and he might still do that. What do you think about this Reaper here?
You know, we've seen a bunch of teams go towards the Reaper, but really it's been when you play like a Reinhardt and they're playing the Winston. But all right, so Reaper Genji here.
It is a bit odd.
Reaper Genji Winston, yeah. So maybe you feel like
Lucio Ana.
Yeah, I mean it's just a very different than what you've seen other teams run.
It feels like comfort picks. You have, I suppose, the Ana for the ult cycling here with the Winston, and they do claim the high ground, the Defiant, pretty comfortably here. They're taking a licking again from Hero's turret as per usual, but Nice can pick that off at long range where Tracer can't. That's why he feels better on the Genji here. And he always needs healing, of course. In we go. And that's Hisu down.
There's not like a right, when you saw the Shock playing aggressive before, as this will be the Nano here on to Sato. Unfortunately, everybody else is dead. When you were watching the Shock, you know, using like the Sim TPs and the Lucio speed boosts and whatnot, there was a target you were able to just go after, and you knew you were going to be able to kind of secure a kill. Like, who is that here? Because Glister is able to play, you know, right next to the Brig, the Immortality field, the Torb damage coming from both sides. I mean, there's not really a target you can burn down so fast. I mean, are you playing around maybe like building up nano blades? Is that kind of the idea here? And then, I mean, how does the Reaper fit into the mix?
Shatter! Oh my! That's not okay! Skip the whole triage, Matt. Get him to ER. Brutal shatter from Super.
At least Canada got a Drake album this week.
Is it better than Donner or no?
I mean, that's tough. I mean, now you're asking the real
That's a spicy one.
Yeah, now you're...
Look at this.
This shatter is enormous. I mean, I would love to see Super's face during this. He must have just been screaming at everybody else. Just get in there. So, all right, so Toronto going for the low ground approach here. This is going to be a Blade that comes in from Nice.
A great dive on a Violet. That's shades of space there from Michelle. Isolating the most important support at the start of the fight here. Nice respects the Deadeye, so holds the Blade for the time being. And the Shock still have 5 players to work with now. Michelle has no mech and they've got no Sato, so the durability now is an issue for the Defiant. They need to lean into the damage aspect of their composition, and they don't have enough of that left either. This is all going wrong.
Well, that's what this composition needs to do, right? They need to finish players off quick. The issue is there's nobody on the Shock that is a target. You don't have the Discord damage to make them a target. So now you'll have what? You have a Primal here. Do you nano Reaper? Nano Reaper. You can nano the Winston.
You might have to nano Sato.
Yeah, you're getting into very difficult territory here. Which I wonder why they didn't just save the Blade to nano the Blade. But
Nano Sato, let's hope that Hisu can get into the backline under... Well, never mind. He takes a bunch of damage. Let's see if he stays around, though. Lastro hits him with a biotic grenade there. Shatter again. It's Michelle and Hisu here with that one. Sato stunned as he tries to get into the backline, and the Immortality field, again, thwarts his plans. He's forced to try and retreat back to the point, but Glister catches him on the way out. And with a sardonic wave, that's 3 kills for Glister. Not bad from Hisu to appear where he did there, but Choi will go for a self-destruct here. Oh dear. Hisu does not want to be stunned up now. He's going to be caught in this room with Lastro. He's down. Death Blossom from Hisu gets nothing. He's also fallen on the Defiant. That was a gambit. It was an aggressive, risky play, and it's blown up in their face.
This has just been a really tough matchup for Toronto. Like, clearly they are a better team than what we've seen today, but do not have the power to beat a team like San Francisco, as the Shock are back in the playoffs. A 3-0 sweep here of the Defiant. So they look scary, man. Being able to play, I think really what is Toronto's downfall is just the inability to fall back on some of these other different compositions. I don't think this is a thing where they didn't have the talent to like make this a close series or something along those lines. I think it's just they didn't have the flexibility to do many different things and counter what the Shock were throwing at them. And it really showed today.
Look, a really promising roster, Matthew, of young talent who really carved out their own style over the course of this season. The problem is that that philosophy falls flat against San Francisco, who are multifaceted and have a laundry list of players on the bench ready to move in and change the way this team plays entirely. When you're playing against San Francisco, you have to prep against 2, maybe 3 different teams. And that is a gargantuan task for even the most big-brained of analysts there. San Francisco, look, I mean, for them, this is bare minimum stuff, I think it's safe to say, Matthew. They didn't go to Hawaii at all this season. They circumvented the travel there, but they had very consistent results throughout. They were unfortunate, some might say, to see a resurgent Los Angeles Gladiators knock them out of automatic qualification for those playoffs, but they're there now. They've earned the spot, and they're looking frightening. Whichever way you slice it, whatever teams come out of this play-in process are going to be lethal.
I mean, I don't see anybody who wants to pick the Shock, right, going into the playoffs. It's a very dangerous team that, you see now they start to develop all these different looks, and they look to have leveled up on that. Like, we saw that during the season, but they've lost to some good teams at times. They looked like a leveled up version of themselves today, which is quite scary. I think for Toronto as well, end to their season, it's not like they didn't make the play-ins, right? They made the play-ins. They end up losing to, the defending 2-time champions, right? And you have a totally new roster that you put together this year with some really nice players. Aspire has looked really good since they've added them. We know what Hisu did with Billy last year, same with Sato and Lastro. So you have a lot of good players to build on here for Toronto.
It's a defined identity. It's a fun one there in the Toronto Defiant. And it's one that promises to persist here from season to season. Let's talk about our player of the match, though, for in this series, because with San Francisco advancing, there are a few key individuals that led the way. And for us today, it's been Nero, Matt. Look, he's the mainstay here. It really looks like the Shock are positioning him as a franchise player and building around him, right? Whether it's Arns or Glister that flanks him in these maps, he's playing a ton of different stuff. And we talked about his Echo, but his Tracer looked dominant. And his Torbjorn forced the Defiant into an uncomfortable position on Numbani.
It's his flexibility to play so many different things. I think it's really kind of the future of damage dealers in the Overwatch League. I think just Overwatch in general, being able to play so many of the different heroes, whether it's projectile or hit scan, and Nero is able to do that, right? He can play the Tracer at a high level. He can play Torp now. We've seen him play Echo, Pharah. I mean, there's nothing this guy can't do. Where you have somebody like him in the lineup all of the time, it unlocks so many different possibilities for this team. And he was really fantastic today.
That, final blow to death ratio is impeccable. Over 10 final blows per 10 minutes with a 1.7 deaths per 10. Statistically, that is not only unlikely, but really quite extraordinary. So congratulations to Nero for another basically clean sheet. Liking it to football and a goalkeeper not really letting much in. That is this guy right now. And then he really didn't let any traces into his backline. He's forced to switch off that and try and make the Hangzhou work. San Francisco, now in the past they've maybe faced criticism of having chopping and changing a whole lot and not finding something that really works for them, but it seems like they've actually refined different iterations of their team to give them different options against different opponents. Looking like a Swiss Army knife here, and not an option that a lot of teams have, right? Hero pools, Matt, forced so many teams to drill down on their identity and make it work no matter what because of how limited the time was. San Francisco can sort of buck that trend here. That's all for us now. Me and Matt, of course, we'll see you in the playoffs, everybody. When we come back, we'll talk with ChoiHyoBin, and he'll give us some words on the Shock's victory once again in the playoffs for a third year.
Itchy, hi.
Focus point. Wow, we actually get to go to Hawaii.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
This entire series is a statement.
Would you say this is contenders?
Overwatch contenders.
There he goes for the environmental. There was nowhere else for him to go. Can I see that Deadeye come out for Cloud? Oh, Reckless! Barrage coming in for this one. He's just spraying through the point.
On time with that interception. Here comes the bomb. Will they be able to split away from it? No, they won't.
He gets stunned out of breath floods.
Alexander the Great.
I'm ready for this blade to come out. Good old classic Overwatch. It's the Nano Blade 3K. Your kids is on the Widow, forcing these supports off plat. What supports, I say? Where did this shatter come from for Lulsish?
American Tornado once again, grand final winners.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. We're joined now by the birthday boy, ChoiHyoBin from the San Francisco Shock. ChoiHyoBin, congratulations on the win, and also happy birthday. ChoiHyoBin, we on the desk and everyone on the Overwatch League really wanted to surprise you with a little gift to celebrate your birthday. So we have prepared a virtual cake for you. Right there. So, Choi, close your eyes, make your wish. 자, 소원 빌 준비를 하시고 그 다음에 and then you could blow out the candles. And we're all gonna clap. YouTube chat, help me out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, everybody clap. Chat, type, clap. All right.
Thank you.
Choi, big congratulations. And also, guys, Choi actually wanted to do this whole thing in English, so I am not gonna speak Korean at all. And I think Choi could do this. He says he's nervous, but honestly, I think he's going to be fine. It's simple questions. So we're gonna jump right into the questions, Choi. First question for you is, after an unfortunate loss against the Gladiators in the Countdown Cup, you guys had some time to prepare for the play-ins. What have you guys worked on during the break, and how did you guys prepare for the play-ins?
After the losing to Gladiator, and we just kind of mental break, but we just take a rest and then learn the something from that game, and we just end. I'm sorry, wait.
Okay. No, that was good. So after losing to the Gladiators, you guys learned, it was a learning lesson for you guys. 뭔가 좀 이제 배우는 계기가 됐다 이 말이잖아요. So
yeah,
and
so
then how did you?
And so 그다음에 뭐였죠?
And then so how did you prepare for the play-ins? play-in을 위해서
yeah.
어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
Yeah, we know the Countdown Cup and the stage playoff is important, but actually I think the playoff is everything for season, so we more practice harder for the playoff.
Yeah, that's honestly, I can't agree with you more. I think season playoffs is where everything is at. And your English, guys, I'm a little worried now. All these Korean players are getting so good in English. I might not have a job next season. Anyways, all right, let's move on to the next question. Of course, by sweeping the Toronto Defiants, the Shock are officially in the playoffs. Who do you think is going to be the toughest opponent for the San Francisco Shock in the playoffs, and why?
Actually, I don't know about the Egg Pack team, so just accept Egg Pack team. So maybe Gladiator, because we lost to them the last match, so I just picked the Gladiator.
Wow, well, I mean, you guys will definitely have a chance to get your revenge against the Gladiators. Well, ChoiHyoBin, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your interview. And again, congratulations on your birthday, and thank you so much for doing this all in English. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Choi. Happy birthday, of course, from everyone here on the desk. He's so adorable. I can't deal with him.
Impressive.
No, so
yeah.
So little
English
backstory.
as well. They're so shy about it, but they're
little
great.
backstory. I totally forgot that. So apparently he made a promise that he was gonna do the next interview in English, and I totally forgot about that. And he brought it up. He was like, we made a promise. I made a promise.
Aww.
I have to do this.
He
So
remembered.
let's try this in it. Yeah. And
I love that. A man of his word.
It's great. Yeah.
Did a good job.
What a guy.
What a guy. What a guy. And what a performance. What a team. It was dominant from A to Z. San Francisco Shock took them down, and they really were leaning heavily into that brawl style to counter Toronto's dive. We expected Toronto to come out on that dive. How did they get it done, Costa?
Well, it was funny. Yesterday we talked to Hiso, and he's like, we like playing dive, but we can play other things if we have to. Well, I'm starting to think that maybe that was not really the truth, and you might have been right, so that might be like, because they went down playing this dive. Obviously, they came in wanting to play that Wrecking Ball style, but the San Francisco Shock knew what to expect. They played this heavy May, Lucio, Baptiste brawl style, and they did such a good job of punishing Lastro time and time again, and you see it just here on your screens. And they just didn't really have an answer for it. Obviously, we went over to Volskaya next, And we got to see a masterclass from Smurf on that Winston. And I think it's easy to forget how diverse the San Francisco Shock is, especially when they make that switch from Super to Smurf, because they go from playing an incredibly good brawl that is so tight and so clean to going over to the dive, especially when they put arms in. They're just so on point. But the person I need to shout out from the San Francisco Shock, who you should have an eye on for these playoffs, is Nero. He's been an absolute menace on this Tracer, and his ability as really a flex DPS to be able to play that Tracer at such a high level, something that we haven't really seen much of in the Overwatch League, is exciting. And you should be excited for this team, because it seems like they've really, put a lot of work into finding their identity once again, and it's time to peak at the right moment for the San Francisco Shock as they try and keep their three-peat dreams alive.
Absolutely. Anything anyone wants to add? Any praise and hymns for the San Francisco Shock moving into the playoffs?
I think it's a very stable performance. I mean, the San Francisco Shock, we had high expectations of them throughout the year, and especially starting the year, and I think they're finally getting back to that form, finding their identity, as Costa said. They might not still be like, the San Francisco Shock magic, the playoff magic they had from being the two-time back-to-back champion, but they're getting there. And as ChoiHyoBin said, they're putting in way more practice hours now, come playoffs. I really do believe that the Shock can be a playoffs juggernaut, so I would not underestimate this team in the playoffs.
No, you can't count them out. They are having their eyes set on that three-peat. That would be history in the making for you out there. Now, there's still one more playoff spot up for grabs, and it all comes down to either Houston or Justice. Will Do or Die DK shine again, or will Houston prevail? Reinforce, you put all your imaginary jelly beans on Houston. Once again, please walk us through why that is.
I just think that Houston Outlaws has also been a very stable team so far this season. Yes, they didn't make it to Hawaii, and that was a bit of a disappointment. And often when we think about the Houston Outlaws, we think back to last year when they started the playoffs and just lost to Boston Uprising in the first round. Massive disappointment. Wasn't able to secure their tickets to Hawaii again this year. But if you look at their match history this season, yes, they have 7 losses, but 6 out of those 7 losses were against Dallas Fuel, Atlanta Reign, and 1 against the Gladiators, and then the 7th loss is to Boston Uprising most recently. So overall, the Outlaws, they beat all the other teams except for like the very top 3 teams in the region. So overall, they're a very strong team. Now, especially we've seen some of these teams, they like to play these rush compositions, play the Reinhardt. Django is a fantastic Reinhardt. Sigma is back in the mix, so now Piggy can play his best hero in the hero rotation. So the Houston Outlaws, I do think that they are a very strong team. Yes, the Washington Justice, they got a nice 3-0 yesterday, but Houston Outlaws, they're a different caliber, they're a team above the rest. I think this is going to be a tougher challenge for a Justice that is trending the right way still.
I mean, Costa, you're just banking on one of the teams, preferably if we're looking at your pick, it being the Outlaws, just dropping the bowl, dropping the spaghetti. Any pasta available to them?
Well, I don't think it's we've said it in the past of who's going to drop the spaghetti more. I actually don't think that is going to be this match. I just think, as Johnny said, the Houston Outlaws, opposed to what a lot of people think, they've actually been quite consistent this season. They've just had a couple of really brutal losses. When they've lost badly. While the Washington Justice, I just have faith that they've maybe put something together and playing to their strengths. We talked to the K yesterday after their win, and he gave me a lot of confidence in that team that we've moved away from trying to force ourselves to play something that we're not comfortable, and we're going to play our style, and they looked good doing it yesterday. So it's not as much doubt in the Houston Outlaws today as much belief in the Washington Justice.
Yeah, I mean, the Justice definitely got, their confidence up already in this meta, already one bout in, whereas the Houston Outlaws are coming in more cold. So, maybe the Washington Justice will be able to ride that momentum. Now, before we start the next match, we do want to remind everyone to tune in at 6 p.m. PT for a special playoff selection show where Shanghai, Dallas, and Chengdu will be picking their playoff opponents. Of course, Gladiators will be there too. They are going to be dealing with the leftover from the higher seed. So they too will get their opponent for their match in the playoffs. Now, the desk went 3-1 with the predictions for this upcoming match. So let's bring in Brennan Sideshow. Gents, anyone willing to back up Reinforce on the Outlaws pick?
I think it's quite reasonable, actually. I think that both of these teams have a pretty decent chance of being able to get through here. And if you go with Custer's line of logic, Brett, which is I don't trust the Houston Outlaws to be able to make the right picks, What about the Justice's season has made you believe in them? Both of these teams have their issues, right? They've been wildly inconsistent, or at least the Justice have in the regular season. Houston Outlaws have been consistently underperforming when it comes to the playoff matches or like those elimination matches. So I think it's 6 and 2-3s.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that completely as well. Custo, I'm not even going to let you defend yourself here.
Yeah,
as well.
no, that's
I think. I do think it's a difficult choice to make, though, in terms of predicting both of these teams, because you've got the Washington Justice, who are honestly performing the best that they've looked, honestly, all season. They've had moments where they've looked really good very early on, but now it's a team that it feels like when there's a lot on the line, they're starting to play towards the potential that we've been waiting for this entire season long. And then the Houston Outlaws, which is another team that, yeah, you can't really have too much confidence in, but they're still very good rosters. Both of these teams, I think, are showcasing it. I would go with Houston personally, but that's only because I think I've got this like subconscious bias at the back of my head that just for some reason it's rooting against Washington. I don't know why. It just is.
No.
But the Houston Outlaws, but putting all that aside, I think the Houston Outlaws have definitely showcased that they have a ton of potential, and we have those moments in our minds when we think about that squad underperforming. Those are the big moments that stick out, I think, just because it's natural for us to think about. But it's going to be a close series for sure.
What do you think, Custo? What's your your defense?
Do you want me to defend myself? First of all,
yeah, you got
Josh, that was the most lawyer answer I've ever seen you say.
No.
Like, I think that's a reasonable assumption. You didn't choose a side. First of all, I want you to choose a side.
I choose the Outlaws. I choose
the Outlaws.
Okay.
We're going 3 and 3 over here. I agree that the Washington Justice haven't been impressive at all. I just hope they don't touch the Wrecking Ball. If they don't touch the Wrecking Ball, that is where all of their woes have come from this season. Mags Reinhardt's stat card was bonkers. I want to see Reinhardt, and I think he's going to MTD.
Okay. There we go. Let's get into the action. Thank you very much, Desk, for the preamble as well. You know, really setting the scene between these two teams, as this will be for one of these teams. They'll be going home. This will be the 2021 season finished for them. It's a ton on the line for all of them. And you know, I often, you know, I'm poking fun at the Washington Justice for, you know, having an up and down regular season and coming alive here in the playoffs. But this is not out of the ordinary for this franchise. I think back to last year as well. No. They did a very similar thing, and honestly, that is the thing that people will remember you for. They're not going to remember the up and down regular season. It's how you finish at the end is what matters. And for the Washington Justice, they're coming out swinging in this match here today.
Yeah, it's only been a small sample size, right? It's not like we've seen them this year throughout a lot of elimination matches and they've always been incredible. They've actually fumbled the ball a little bit too much before they've even got the opportunity to play in a lot of elim matches, which is quite similar to like their 2019 season where they peaked in stage 4 but couldn't really do too much afterwards. But they are a team that when people think about the Justice, they think about them having these crazy high peaks and maybe being able to achieve them during playoffs or at least towards the end of the season. We've already seen playoff decay in superb form. I'm waiting for more data though. It really is unfortunate, Brent, that both of these teams are clashing so early on, because throughout the season we've seen at their peaks, both of these teams have been fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly looks like they are all comfortable as well in the interviews and whatnot. They're all certainly ready to tackle the challenges ahead. The opposition for the Justice, though, is going to be the Houston Outlaws, another team that is really just looking for the opportunity to showcase what they can do at Hawaii again. It's a high-pressure, high-stakes match, and both teams obviously going to be putting a ton of prep into this. It's very interesting as well how we don't really have a lot of information still on what teams are going to be favoring towards the meta, I guess. We've seen a lot of Reinhardt being played, some teams leaning still into the Wrecking Ball, despite Wrecking Ball being nerfed. But interesting lineup here today, Josh. You see Dreamer and Jake in the starting lineup here.
Very interesting look, right, for the Houston Outlaws. They've actually only run Dreamer and Jake together 4 times in 4 different maps. 3 of them against the Florida Mayhem when they were starting to go on their downward slip, and one separately outside of that. They won all 4 of them. And that's a trend whenever Jake comes into the lineup. Even though he might not be as skilled mechanically as Juby is when it comes to Lucio, who has recently been unlocked from hero pools, the leadership he seems to bring to the team, they tend to play in more of a cohesive manner when he's in the squad. And they do have a significantly higher both teamfight win rate and map win rate when coach player Jake... I mean, look at his mouth. His mouth never stops moving when he's in.
Yeah,
it's a cheat code.
this central figure to surround yourselves around as well, that one voice you're going to be listening to in the team fights is going to be rallying your whole team. It's a powerful motivating factor. That's what Jake brings at the end of the day, and the whole squad, obviously they've all got the skill to boot, as we are getting ready to head into this match between these two teams that are really heating up at the right time.
Well, you say heating up at the right time, and that's the question for the Houston Outlaws here. As we head into Oasis, what form are they in? It has been a serious roadblock to that franchise's success. Even in this year, their best ever year, it has been a serious roadblock, them getting over the hump of winning elimination, playoff, or play-in matches. Bren, they are 1-8 all time in terms of playoff elimination-esque matches outside of the regular season, and they're currently on a 5-match losing streak when it comes to that. That dates back to the 2020 Summer Showdown as well. Every time they've had an opportunity to go to a stage final or something like that, they have whiffed it. They've let it slip through their fingers. An excellent regular season record. 7-1 in the first half of the season. They let it slip a little bit since then, but still, they are a great team. But can they put it together when it really matters?
That's what it is. You said 1-8 over franchise history for playoff matches.
Yeah, for like playoff or like to get to a stage final, you know, stuff outside of the regular season where it's an elimination
was that
game.
One in 2018,
qualification
the first
game.
tournament?
No, I think the one that they won actually was in the Summer Showdown against the Florida Mayhem. It was like they had to go through 2 elimination matches. So they ended up winning that one, and then they've lost 5 in a row since then. But this season, they've only been stumped by the best, essentially. It's been Dallas Fuel that sent them home a ton of times from those stage finals opportunities. And they've been the best team in the West. Can the Justice do it here today? That would be a spectacular beginning to a potential playoff run, the likes of which we only saw last season from the Justice.
And these teams, they don't want to be focusing on the past right now. It's all about the here and now, trying to win this fight right now. The Outlaws coming out with a wrecking ball. See a fast initiation here from the Washington Justice. Going to be running this Lucio Moira backline. They want to play with a bit of pace and aggression around the cooldowns as well, just trying to dive on one particular target. But the Outlaws, they just absorb the aggression, play backwards, and now it's their time to strike. You see the power driver comes in, Dreamer sets it up. Is there going to be any sort of follow-up? Not quite. Still going back in, but Dreamer hacked up. He's in trouble. Let's try and break this bubble and back off to the rest of his team for heals here, but he's being pressured so heavily.
Thematically, the Justice's composition is great if they can find these good opportunities to engage. Speed boost, Coalescence. What does the Outlaws do here? Mag is so weak, though. Discord Orb on his head, but it's the main tank for the Houston Outlaws that goes down first.
I believe that was a hack to set that one up as well into the Coalescence. Almost an instant team fight win. And as soon as you get this going, you've got the forward positioning. Houston looking like they don't want to give this up too easily. In fact, a perfect leap in there by Mag actually completely splits up the team. The bubble blocking a lot of heals. Piggy is in trouble, and they're forcing ultimates out. Crimson are using a Transcendence, but Decay just takes Happy straight out. Not over yet, though. Crimson leading the charge as well, firing shot after shot with the Discord Orbs. They need to get these kills, and they're finally going to be getting them on the other side of the kill feed for once. This is going to be them being able to eventually reclaim this point.
Well, it's good work from the Outlaws, but and Crimzo as well, hitting some great shots to slay Decay as he comes back in. But they've only just managed to capture the point. They gave 50% to the Justice. And Justice with this Winston pick and with the Lucio Moira are going to be able to get aggressive and hold territory much more easily than the Outlaws are. Outlaws have to keep retreating with their backline and create that distance for Crimzo to do work.
Good whip shot. That's wonderful by Jake. Just completely denies Mag away from the high ground. There's the post bomb combo straight up into it. That's the back line of Justice taken out. No more heals for them, and that's an instant disengage from this team fight. They know they can't win this one. Fury just trying not to get demeched and staggered there.
Great team fight from Houston. I mean, as soon as the backline from Justice were able to get close, they collapsed on top of them. Now that they're in the control of the map, they have much better positions for Happy and Dreamer to set up these dives, for example. But Justice are going to come back in here with another call, and that's really dangerous for the Outlaws to be able to deal with. They won that first team fight eventually off the back of double support ultimate. Jake's still a long way away from that rally.
The Coalescence is in hand. Now it's going to be used. Jake, though, just out in the open, gets beamed down. It's actually the spam damage from closer that ends up securing the kill. A very quick flip over there. Houston realized they have to really just give up this point completely. And Justice not looking to try and go away with the 1 pick. They want a little bit more than that. Houston, though, investing ultimates. Crimzo with the Transcendence now. His team just barreling across the point. They need to try and get something out of this with Fury hacked up. It's going to be an easy DMEC for them. And now we see the EMP committed as well. Decado still about and around. Happy lays down the pulse bomb. That's not going to be finding too much mag. Solo has to leap all the way around, and no one is really dealing with Happy. He's putting in a ton of damage, but where is the follow-up? The EMP eventually comes through to Washington Justice now. Look at it, just about get these kills with 83% and counting. The team fight looks like it's slowly edging towards them.
The Justice popping off this sound barrier as well. They're at 90% here. Mag trying to get deep into the backline. He knows if he can isolate Crimzo and push him out, that's a huge amount of extra damage that's being reduced from the Outlaws side. What do they have that can turn this fight? Maybe Happy with a pulse at some point, but the Justice are going aggressive again.
Yeah, that self-destruct is almost impeccable. It completely pushes Jake back. He can't lead it in with his team with the rally armor engaged. Overtime is going. Somebody's still playing the point. I think it might be. It is indeed Dreamer on the point. Happy as well, just causing a bit of havoc. Might have already just gotten 2 kills for them. Potentially still winnable for them. Now a Transcendence being built. Crimzo has just been putting in damage this entire time. He's built up another one, and they may have just salvaged this.
What a clutch! I did not see that one coming. I thought Houston were on the ropes. We were headed to round 2 there, and Happy just pulls 2 kills out of nowhere. Crimzo as well, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you brought that one up as well. He's been doing a lot of work, and he's been able to get up to that trance that helped them solidify that team fight. But they've still got to win the next one. You're going to have EMPs on both sides. Dante was the proactive one last time around. Not sure he's in position, though, this time. Just hanging around with his own team's backline.
Yeah, Houston have given up a lot of space here. They're trying to work around the flank with the speed boost coming through. That's an EMP, though, as they try to engage onto them.
It's a good one.
Could be an opportunity for them, but nobody is really dealing with Decay. He's going to get spotted. So much damage. Crimzo trying to dodge a juke. He gets the volley off the pulse, though traded. It's 1 for 1. A bit of post-mortem coming out. Still the Justice. They've got enough picks. Can they try and find it? Happy wants to try and at least mitigate this threat that's coming their way. This round really going to the brink now with 99% on either side eventually. Dreamer hacked up, so not going to be able to use these mines. Just needs to try and stay alive. You can see the peel is there from Piggy, but a big pile driver to set up that. The tanks are going down. The Soundbar on top of it, the Washington Justice. They've got every tool at their disposal, everything necessary to try and at least flip this one over. See what the Outlaws have got in their tank to try and find this fight.
Last time, Happy came up with the goods, managed to get a kill. Jake so close to rally, as is Crimzo to his Transcendence, taken down at 96%, and Jake burnt down as well. Bebe's call just out-tempos them both, and that Bio Orb seals up the back line.
So difficult to try and find, and now a couple of players left for them. The mines kill onto Bebe, but the overtime, it trickles down. Looking potentially turnable there for the Outlaws, but my word, so tightly contested between both of these squads. And that's the trouble with the Justice's comp. I guess when you have that much sustain in the backline with the Lucio and the Moira, over the course of a long drawn-out team fight like that, you're eventually going to be finding the edge if you can build up to that coalescence in time.
And perhaps this is going to be the real strategic battle between these two. We already saw that the Justice played a ton of this Moira Lucio Winston comp. It's a very similar composition to what people were dubbing the zombie comp back in the June Joust, because nothing ever died, you had tons of healing, essentially going around like you're immortal. But Houston are trying to play something that we thought would be a bit more meta, the Ball, the Zen, the Tracer. But the backline really struggles to get cemented into position. And if Mag can sync up with Fury and you're building up those fast calls, the Justice are always going to be the attackers. And look, there they go again. But Bebe falls immediately.
That is a very impactful pick from Crimzo. I mean, there's no understating it. With Bebe down, he's not going to be healing. He's not going to be building up the coalescence. The major win condition for the Justice's comp taken out. They've essentially won the team fight off of that alone.
What a god tier performance by Crimzo he's putting up already in this series. Fury now just resetting his mech, and things will start again. The two huge advantages for this are that Justice is favored in that opening fight, and you've won it. Now the Outlaws now have this high ground control, and no part of the Justice's ult cycle is even close to coming online.
Yeah, the Justice, though, working as a group here. You can see the power drive actually disrupts them as they were trying to rotate onto the Houston Outlaws, but the positioning Crimzo is playing in a very nice angle. He's going to be putting out the heals and the damage once more. Justice trying to jump on them with Dreamer going down. It's a huge opening for them, and Decay, I mean, he's unleashed right now. Look at him just trying Trying to push away Happy, who's on the point, just trying to get any sort of kills he can, but eventually brought down there. Not ideal for the Houston Outlaws. They have to try and give this one up. They will.
They're pushing constantly towards spawn here, Justice, as well. Another hack onto Dreamer, but no significant follow-up. They can wait for another speed boost, to come online. They try and speed boost Cole here.
Oh, they are.
Cheeky wraparound.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not wasting any time. This is discipline and determination being showcased by the Washington Justice, and the Coalescence is off. Decay, meanwhile, still causing a bit of damage there into the backline, and Mag with this Primal Rage is eventually going to get brought down there, but he did force out the Transcendence. Still, with all of them going down, it's an even fight for either side. Crimson just trying to survive, but with the EMP, that's the DPS line of the Washington Justice putting in the good work there. Point flipped over, though. Outlaws in control of it, but it feels like this team fight, again, the Washington Justice are going to be getting plays in a little bit sooner, I think.
I think they're going to be annoyed there that they let the point flip over, to be honest, because now this is all just passive income being generated for Houston. And their players are coming back in. There's an EMP. Closer, though, with a good response.
Yeah, instant sound barrier to just mitigate it. So Pulse Bomb onto Fury, very, very low in the end. Closer just trying to whip around and follow up on some of the damage here as
Bebe
well.
hacked.
That's just trying to boop them, but with Bebe hacked, it's an easy kill. And the Houston Outlaws, with the tank line missing from the Justice, they should be the winners of this team fight here. The hack onto Closer, yeah, they realize the fight is over. The Outlaws holding on to that one as well. And yeah, the Justice probably a little bit miffed at the fact that they ended up losing the point, I suppose, in that as well. They could have at least ended that maybe with 50% on the board.
Even the neutral fights, though, are not particularly going the way of Washington. Here we see a little Tracer skirmish on the left-hand side. Dante did a great job in the prior fight of hacking the Moira. The Moira is so crucial, the center point, the anchor, the pivot to how this comp all works.
Hack onto Dreamer, so low, he's right in the bubble as well. The heals are going to be hard to come by. Tracked down by Decay, the bomb as well as that. Fury just comboing it all up, pushing them into these awkward angles. The Outlaws, no choice but to collapse, unfortunately for them. Point again goes over to the Justice. Now they can start to build up a bit of that percentage. And they've got the forward positions again, crucially, as well as that. Bebe, the Coalescence, almost online, just about 10% away.
Taking a look at these EMPs, both players are generating them relatively quickly, and Assassin has been good. He got an EMP last time onto Crimzo, managed to finish him off immediately, same thing again.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's exactly the target you need. It's so hard for Crimzo to play. He's trying to play around the doorway, I suppose, like the choke point, so that he can potentially go from one side to the other to avoid the EMP, but it's an instant team fight win, and again, this percentage goes up. Already 70% now for the Justice. They still haven't used this Coalescence as well.
That's the kind of area where you're hoping Jake can be a bit of a deterrent to Assassin getting into the backline. Justice again, going for the flank here. Nice defensive EMP, though. They were aware of that, and they're aiming to shut down Mag before he can pop the Primal.
Yeah, that's fantastic, actually. CC'd up, couldn't actually pop anything. Now the overtime goes. The Outlaws, they flip the point under their noses once more. Happy sends in the Pulse Bomb. Doesn't get too much done, but now we see Dreamer again rolling deep into the enemy team. It's hacked up, though. Can't really do too much, but with Fury demeched, the Justice are struggling to find answers. Mag's got to come up big now with his Primal Rage, but with the Discord Orb on him, he's taking so much damage. Sound Barrier applied, though. Now it's time for him to go back in again, but Crimzo's been holding on to this Transcendence the whole time. It's going to be a freebie. The team's led across the point, and with the damage on top of it, they're all pushed away. The round secured here for the Outlaws, going the absolute distance on Oasis.
Here we go, round 3. Neither team looking like they want to get away from their composition so far. And the Outlaws gearing up for what could potentially be a long, long match here. I love the way that they're playing the macro game, though. Both of these teams, actually. Justice are trying to get good value out of their comp. They have to stick together, basically as a 6-player bundle, a death ball. And so as they rotate around to try and get onto the backline of the Outlaws, Outlaws instead are focusing on point pressure, trying to flip the objective while the Justice are diving their backline. And it's causing serious problems for Washington. Yes, they sometimes manage to get the fight win, but at the cost of a large amount of objective time. And here we see the same thing again, just both teams sticking to their guns. They've won one round already. That's the same from both perspectives. They both believe they can do it again.
Justice are faster with this comp, so they took the high ground a little bit before the Outlaws could. And look at where this fight's taking place. It's practically in the Outlaws spawn. booped away here. Closer just trying to take a slide off angle, but with Bebe falling, that again, a massive pick off for them. I think it is completely intentional as well from the Outlaws that they are just trying to force out the fade, put the Discord Orb on Bebe the entire time, make sure that Bebe goes down early in these fights because they know how important it is that he stays alive for the Justice's comp to really find a lot of value.
Agreed, absolutely. The Houston Outlaws have a great understanding of what they want to do in these team fights to punish the Justice. And the Justice feel like they have to overextend because as soon as they burst those abilities, they have to find a pick. They've got to generate some kind of advantage within the first 5-7 seconds.
Look how deep they're going, but the Houston Outlaws, they just, again, absorb the aggression. They just walk right backwards, and now they're going back in. As soon as the cooldowns are spent, Dreamer, I am shocked that he's still alive.
No way. No way.
There's no way he gets out of that. So low, but a pulse bomb connects. Decay at least gets one of the tanks out of the fight. You see Jake using that rally now to lead the team forwards with the EMP on top of it. This is the Outlaws of a ton of damage, and the Coalescence is really just being mitigated. A nice stun. Jake bashes him right out of it as well to cancel it. Not going to be having that ultimate now for this fight, and with the Transcendence healing on top, that's the Outlaws sealing the deal there. 50% in counting now for them. And they've got a great read on how to push and pull against what the Justice are really throwing at them.
But in that instance, Dreamer was the only person contesting the objective, and he's hacked up. How do you let him survive? That's a massive whiff from the Justice. They have a lot of ults to be able to retake here, but so far the Outlaws have had an answer for everything. Surely they don't have an answer for this. There's a beat, a primal, an EMP. There's nothing the Outlaws should be able to do in this fight.
Trying to bait them onto the point here, potentially to get the EMP off. It only connects onto Dreamer, though. He's already around the corner. Sound barrier as well from closer, and Decay with a pulse bomb. All the ultimates committed. A lot of individuality. What a stick from Happy! The fade away onto his opposition. You are joking. It forces Mag to now use this Primal Rage because he's uncertain as the direction of this team fight. But it is enough to eventually secure it and get this point under their control the first time in this round.
But you gotta say, from Houston's perspective there, that's a fantastic team fight. You came into that with no ults other than, well, you had Mines and Pulse, but those are not big team fight winning ults. And you forced out everything the Justice had. They're always gonna have this Coalescence though. The Coalescence builds incredibly quickly. So now for the Outlaws, how do you build a plan around that? Are Justice gonna attack you aggressively here, or do you have space to set up an EMP? Nope, Justice are gonna go.
A very aggressive fade right into the backline there from Bebe, yeah, with the Self-Destruct as well. I'm also going to start to play the point here, but it's not looking like a winnable fight for them. But with Closer falling, maybe they think they can turn this. Maybe with the Coalescence, everybody has vacated the premises, so nobody's going to be nearby to take a ton of damage. The Outlaws, again, they bide their time, they wait it out, and now they can start to push back in.
Yeah, they have a ton of space here to be able to work with, and Dante has that EMP. There he goes.
Yep, Decay just goes down instantly. Assassin, I believe, hacked up as well, so nowhere to run with the Discord Orbs perfectly placed onto every single target. It's the Outlaws in control of the situation. They flipped over the point. It's going to be 99% with the overtime going. Can the Washington Justice even approach this? They're trying to jump onto this now. Decay's going to be using that recall just to get back to safety. He has brought it into the overtime. Can anybody else, though? Bebe forced to use the fade to at least just prolong it out. But what can Mag do? The bubbles burst immediately. Fury left alone onto the point. It's just inevitable now for the Outlaws to be taking map number 1 here.
Certainly looks like it. Great start for Houston. This is what their franchise has been looking for. That good start to a playoff game, a play-in game, we should say, in this specific instance. And the Justice are going to have to go back to the drawing board a little bit. This zombie composition that's been working so well for them so far towards the end of the season, and worked well for them in the June Joust as well, has not really come up with the goods.
You can just see Jake popping off. I mean, it is just yap, yap, yap the entire time at the end of it. But it worked in their favor. That's going to be an early map lead for them. The Washington Justice, though, they are leaning onto their strengths. We'll see if they can persevere and come back into this series. Currently 1 map down, but anything can happen in the play-ins. Always the potential with the skill that these players have that they can turn it around, and we'll find out soon enough.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.